From across Maryland, Virginia, and the District, this is Washington's 24-hour local news leader. News Channel 8 Live This Morning starts right now.
Oh dear. All right.
Yes.
We'll keep the umbrella handy, Joe. Thanks so much. Now, as you plan your summer vacation, you probably considered what you're going to do with your pet. Now, if you're thinking of bringing Fido along with you, there are some travel tips you want to keep in mind. And here to talk more about pet travel is Alexandria Emergency Veterinarian, Dr. Katie Nelson. Good to have you here, Dr. Nelson.
Good morning.
So let's start with air travel.
Let's start with air travel.
You're going to need a carrier for that. Looks like you brought one.
You're going to need a carrier. I actually brought some really cute stuff. This is all from Barclay Square in Delray, so you don't have to have the boring carrier that you used to have.
That's
you can get the snazzy one. I know, it's like
Adorable.
Ed Hardy looking, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to have a little bitty dog to fit in there.
It's got the grommets on it.
I know, isn't it
very
precious?
cute.
So anyway, but you do have to have an airline approved carrier. So that means it has to meet certain standards of rigidity. It has to be hard enough to maintain or to withstand an impact. They have to be able to breathe. The other thing too for you, not necessarily the airline's going to require it, is that you need to have a way of providing hydration to your pet. So if your pet is traveling in the cabin, like in one of these, a little bitty dog, then that's going to be a lot easier because you can always just hand them something. But if your pet, like a larger dog that's going to have to travel down in the cargo hold, you're going to have to be able to provide a way for them to get water, stay hydrated, that's not going to spill out all over the place. So there's some definite things that you can look into to do that, but make sure that they've got something in there to stay hydrated.
What is this?
This is actually for like if you're traveling in the car or if you're out, out and about. This is just a cool little thing that it kind of snaps down like that.
Yeah.
You can carry it. It hooks onto
Doesn't
things.
spill.
But then you can kind of stand it up in there. So I thought it was really cool.
And you
Barclay
wouldn't
Square.
use this in the cargo hold with your pet?
You can't use this because it's going to have an area like this where a little reservoir, and that's going to spill. They have some things that kind of, if you think about the little like guinea pig cages or something where they can lick it, they have things like that made for larger dogs that you can do that won't spill all over the place.
Who knew, right?
Yeah, who knew? I know. But one of the biggest things you have to do too before you get on an airplane is go see your veterinarian, because it is actually required to have a health certificate, a travel health certificate that certifies that your pet is healthy enough to travel. You will have to show that to the airline before they allow your pet to go on. So that has to be done within 10 to 14 days of your flight. And if you're going to be gone for longer than 10 to 14 days, you may even have to have a visit to a veterinarian while you're there to get another health certificate coming back. So there's a lot to think about if you're going to bring your pet along.
Sure is. And what about in a car, if you take the road trip, the long road trip?
Technically, if you go state to state, you actually are supposed to have a health certificate with you as well. I can tell you most people don't get stopped and ask for that, but you are supposed to have that by law on hand if you travel. It is easier to travel in a car with your pet, but you do have to make sure that your hotel approves dogs, that you don't have to sneak them in under the blanket in the dark of night. So make sure that where you're staying actually allows you to have dogs. And again, staying hydrated. This would be something that would be good to have in the car, because when you're stopped, you can actually allow them to drink out of that. But staying hydrated, having snacks, and then also having a seatbelt for your pet, because we don't think about that a lot. But as an emergency vet, I've definitely seen pets that were involved in car accidents, and the pets that were seatbelted in, just like the people that are seatbelted in, do stay safer. So think about that long and hard when you're going on a road trip with your pet.
Absolutely. And just like people need rest breaks, the pet does too.
Absolutely.
So you want to look
Probably
for a
more than
rest
people.
area that's not just concrete pavement. I mean, it's got to have some grassy areas, maybe some
Somewhere
shade
for them
to
to
get
go
out and walk around.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to need to stretch their legs just like we are. So make sure you're stopping frequently, not only for yourself, but also for them.
And the other option, of course, you keep the pet at home and you provide care for them. So you're talking a kennel or home care.
Absolutely. A kennel or a pet sitter. There's lots of options, especially here in the D.C. area. There's tons of options as far as pet sitters, how often per day that they're coming in, and everything as well. One thing that I did want to point out for air travel is if your larger dog is traveling in the cargo hold, make sure that you're not flying in the heat of the day, because that's not climate controlled. So really put some thought into that, because again, as a veterinarian, I've seen these heat stroke dogs come in and it's not good. So really think long and hard before you put your pet on the airplane because of that.
Some very good advice, Dr. Katie Nelson. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
Thinking about our pets as we head off for our summer vacations. All right, coming up, we have the latest from Wall Street, and we'll get your top business headlines as well. That's next.